comes a point in life when you realize something uncomfortable. You cannot make everyone respect you. No matter how kind you are, no matter how patient you are, no matter how much you do for people, there will always be someone who talks down to you, someone who ignores your boundaries, someone who takes your kindness for weakness, someone who only respects you when you stop giving them access to you. And when that happens, you have a choice. You can lose your temper. You can argue. You can try to prove yourself. You can spend hours thinking about what they said, or you can handle it differently. You can become so secure in yourself that disrespect no longer controls your behavior. Because here's the truth. Strength isn't making everyone respect you. Strength is knowing what to do when they don't. Today, we're going to talk about 3 powerful ways to handle people who don't respect you. And the first one is probably the hardest. Number 1, stop trying to earn respect from people who have already decided not to give it. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly prove yourself. You explain, they misunderstand. You explain again, they criticize. You defend yourself, they find something else. You try harder, they move the goalpost again. At some point, you have to ask yourself, why am I working so hard to convince someone of my value? Your worth doesn't increase because someone finally recognizes it, and your worth doesn't decrease because someone refuses to. Imagine walking into a room wearing an expensive watch. Someone looks at it and says, "That's a cheap watch." You know what you paid for it. You know what it is. Their opinion doesn't change the object. Your value works the same way. Someone's inability to appreciate you doesn't determine your value. Now, that doesn't mean you should become arrogant. It means you should stop begging for validation. There is a difference between improving yourself and constantly trying to prove yourself. Improve yourself for you. Learn because you want to grow. Work hard because you have goals. Become better because you respect your potential. But don't spend your life trying to convince one person that you're worthy. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Not because you're afraid, because you've realized the conversation isn't productive. A disrespectful person may want a reaction. They may provoke you just to watch you lose control. They say something insulting. You react. They push harder. You become angry. Now they control the situation. Don't hand someone that power. Pause. Look at them. Stay calm. And decide whether this deserves your energy. Most of the time, it doesn't. There is a famous principle worth remembering. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Someone can throw an insult at you. You don't have to catch it. Someone can misunderstand you. You don't have to spend your entire day correcting them. Someone can gossip about you. You don't have to become a detective. Someone can dislike you. You don't have to change yourself to make them comfortable. Your peace becomes powerful when you stop responding to everything. But don't misunderstand this. Silence does not mean accepting disrespect. Sometimes silence is the first step toward a boundary. And that brings us to the second way. Set clear boundaries and enforce them. A boundary is not a threat. A boundary is a decision about what you will and will not accept. You might say, "Don't speak to me like that. I'm willing to have this conversation, but not if we're insulting each other. If you continue treating me this way, I'll step away." Simple, clear, calm. You don't need to scream. You don't need to insult them back. You don't need to make a dramatic speech. You simply communicate the standard. And then comes the important part. You enforce it. Because a boundary without action is just a request. Imagine telling someone, "Please don't disrespect me." They do it again. You complain, they do it again. You explain, they do it again. You threaten to leave, then stay. Eventually, you've taught them that your words have no consequences. So if you say you're going to step away, step away. If you say you're ending the conversation, end it. If you say you won't tolerate a certain behavior, don't tolerate it. This isn't revenge, it's self-respect. And sometimes people will test your boundaries, especially if they're used to having unlimited access to you. The moment you change, they may say, "What's wrong with you? Why are you acting differently?" You've changed. Maybe you have. Maybe that's the point. You don't owe everyone the same access to the person you are becoming. There are people who were comfortable with the old version of you because the old version never said no. The old version tolerated everything. The old version explained everything. The old version gave too many chances. The old version accepted disrespect just to keep the peace. You don't have to remain that person. Growing means changing what you tolerate. And sometimes that change will make certain people uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. Their discomfort isn't automatically your responsibility. Now, boundaries don't mean cutting everyone off at the first mistake. People make mistakes. People have bad days. People say things they don't mean. The question is, what happens after you communicate the problem? A mature person can hear, that hurt me. They may apologize, they may correct themselves, they may try to do better. That's different from someone who repeatedly disrespects you after you've made your boundary clear. Look at the pattern. One mistake can be a mistake. Repeated disrespect is information. Pay attention to patterns. And that leads us to the third way. Control your response and protect your dignity. You cannot control how someone behaves, but you can control what their behavior turns you into. That's where real power lives. Someone insults you. You don't become insulting. Someone lies about you. You don't become dishonest. Someone treats you badly. You don't become cruel. Someone tries to embarrass you. You don't destroy yourself trying to get revenge. Don't allow someone else's lack of character to become your character. Because sometimes people disrespect you, and then you make the mistake of becoming someone you don't even recognize. You say things you regret. You send angry messages. You expose private information. You start gossiping. You seek revenge. And later, you're sitting alone thinking, why did I act like that? Don't give someone that victory. Your dignity is worth more than winning an argument. Imagine someone throws mud at you. Your first instinct may be to throw mud back. Now both of you are covered in it. What did you win? Nothing. Sometimes the smartest response is to walk away clean. This doesn't mean being passive. If someone is genuinely threatening you, abusing you, or creating a serious problem, take appropriate action and seek help where necessary. Strength isn't pretending serious behavior doesn't matter. Strength is responding appropriately instead of emotionally. Learn the difference. There is a time to speak, a time to leave, a time to defend yourself, a time to document what happened, a time to ask for help, and a time to simply stop giving someone access to you. You don't need one response for every situation. You need judgment. That's what maturity looks like. And here's something else you need to understand. Sometimes the people who disrespect you are not actually responding to your weakness. They're responding to your boundaries. They were comfortable when you were always available. They were comfortable when you always agreed. They were comfortable when you kept quiet. They were comfortable when they could take advantage of your kindness. Then you changed. You started saying no. You started protecting your time. You stopped explaining everything. You stopped chasing their approval. And suddenly, you're difficult. You're selfish. You're different. Don't automatically believe them. Sometimes becoming healthier makes you look different to people who benefited from your unhealthy behavior. That's okay. You don't need everyone to approve of your boundaries. You need to respect them yourself. And remember this, being kind does not mean being available to everyone. Being respectful does not mean tolerating disrespect. Being forgiving does not mean forgetting the lesson. Being humble does not mean allowing people to walk over you. Being peaceful does not mean being powerless. You can be a good person and still have strong boundaries. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can wish someone well and still decide they don't belong in your life. You can love someone and still refuse to accept their behavior. That's emotional maturity. The goal isn't to become cold. The goal is to become clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you accept. Clear about what you won't tolerate. Clear about where your energy belongs. And once you become clear, you stop wasting so much energy trying to control other people's opinions. You start investing that energy into yourself, your health, your work, your family, your goals, your future, your peace. That's where your attention should go. Because the most powerful way to respond to disrespect isn't always to confront the person. Sometimes it's to build a life so full of purpose that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Not because you're better than them, because you're busy becoming better than who you were yesterday. And that's where we're going next. And that's where real self-respect begins. Not with demanding that everyone treat you well. Not with trying to control what people say about you. Not with becoming aggressive so nobody dares to challenge you. Self-respect begins when you stop abandoning yourself just to keep other people comfortable. Because sometimes the person you need to protect yourself from isn't the person disrespecting you. It's the version of you that keeps accepting it. You know the feeling. Someone says something disrespectful, you laugh it off. They do it again. You tell yourself they're joking. They cross another line. You tell yourself they're having a bad day. They keep doing it. And eventually, you realize you spent months or even years explaining away behavior that should have been addressed from the beginning. Don't do that anymore. You don't have to turn every disagreement into a war. But you do need to stop pretending that disrespect is normal. The first time someone crosses a boundary, pay attention. The second time, communicate. The third time, make a decision. You don't have to keep giving unlimited chances to someone who keeps showing you the same pattern. And here's the part people often misunderstand. Walking away isn't always weakness. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Imagine you're standing in an argument with someone who doesn't want to understand you. You explain yourself. They interrupt. You explain again. They twist your words. You clarify. They change the subject. You bring evidence. They attack you personally at some point. Continuing the conversation doesn't create understanding, it creates exhaustion, so you leave. Not because you lost, because the conversation stopped being worth having. That's maturity. Knowing when something can be solved, and knowing when you're simply being pulled into chaos. You don't have to prove yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Let them have their version. You know your character. The people who truly know you will judge you by your actions over time. Not by one rumor, not by one argument, not by one person's opinion. Your consistency speaks louder than your explanations. And that's something you should remember whenever someone talks badly about you. You don't have to chase every rumor. If someone believes a lie about you, you don't necessarily need to correct it. Sometimes people are determined to believe what makes them comfortable. Let them. Your job is not to manage everyone's perception of you. Your job is to live in a way that you can respect. That's freedom. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Why does disrespect hurt so much? Sometimes it's not because of what the person said. It's because part of you already believes it. If someone calls you unsuccessful and you know exactly what you're working toward, their words may not affect you much. But if you're secretly insecure about your progress, the comment hits harder. If someone criticizes your appearance and you're already insecure about it, their words stay in your mind. If someone questions your intelligence and you already doubt yourself, you may spend the whole night thinking about it. That's why building yourself matters. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less dependent you become on outside approval. You stop needing everyone to confirm that you're enough. You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses. You know what you're working on. You know what still needs improvement. So when someone criticizes you, you can ask a simple question. Is there something useful here? If yes, learn from it. If no, leave it. That's emotional strength. Not every criticism is an attack, and not every insult deserves your attention. Learn to separate useful feedback from disrespect. Someone says, "You're terrible at this." That's an insult. Someone says, "Here are 3 things you could improve." That's potentially useful. Don't reject valuable feedback simply because it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes the person delivering the message may be wrong about you. Sometimes they may be right about something you need to improve. Your job is to find the lesson. You don't have to swallow the insult to receive the information. Take the truth, leave the disrespect. That's intelligence. And there's another important lesson. Don't become obsessed with making people regret losing you. You see this everywhere. People say, "I'm going to become successful," so they regret what they did. "I'm going to get rich," so they feel stupid. I'm going to look better, so they realize what they lost. Be careful. If your entire transformation is built around proving someone wrong, that person is still controlling you. They're still living in your head. You're still making decisions based on them. Real growth happens when you stop asking, how can I make them regret it? And start asking, how can I make myself proud? That's a completely different motivation. Build your body because you respect your health. Build your career because you have a vision. Improve your mind because you want a better life. Become disciplined because you want freedom. Not because someone rejected you. Not because someone laughed at you. Not because someone underestimated you. Your life should be bigger than your revenge. And sometimes the best revenge is no revenge at all. It's peace. It's progress. It's becoming so focused on your own life that you no longer need to check whether the person who hurt you is watching. You don't care. Not because you hate them, because you're busy. There's a certain kind of strength that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't say, look how strong I am. It simply moves differently. It doesn't argue over every little thing. It doesn't chase people. It doesn't beg for respect. It doesn't explain every decision. It doesn't respond to every provocation. It doesn't need the last word. It simply knows where its energy belongs. Develop that strength. Now, let's talk about when you should actually confront someone. Sometimes you should. If someone repeatedly disrespects you and the relationship matters, have the conversation. Be direct. Don't use 10 minutes of unnecessary explanation. Say what happened. Say how it affected you. Say what needs to change. Then listen. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe they didn't realize the impact of their behavior. Give people a chance to correct themselves. But watch what happens afterward. Because an apology is words. Changed behavior is evidence. If someone says, I'm sorry, that's good. If they change how they treat you, that's better. If they apologize every week and repeat the same behavior every week, pay attention to the pattern. You don't need to keep accepting apologies that are simply followed by the same disrespect. Forgiveness without boundaries can become permission. Don't confuse the two. You can forgive someone without reopening the door. You can let go of anger without giving them access to you again. That's a lesson many people learn too late. Not everyone deserves unlimited chances. Some people deserve one conversation. Some deserve distance. Some deserve complete separation. And your job is to recognize the difference. You don't have to hate anyone to leave them. You don't have to destroy someone's reputation to walk away. You don't have to explain your entire decision to everyone. Sometimes you simply say, this relationship isn't healthy for me anymore. And you move on, quietly, respectfully, completely. The hardest part may be accepting that some people will never understand why you left. Let them misunderstand. Closure doesn't always come from another person's explanation. Sometimes closure comes from your own decision. You know what happened. You know what you tolerated. You know how many chances you gave. You know how hard you tried. You don't need a courtroom verdict to move forward. Give yourself permission to leave what repeatedly damages your peace. And remember, your boundaries don't make you difficult. They make your relationships clearer. The right people won't constantly punish you for having boundaries. They'll understand them. They'll respect them. They may even appreciate them. Because healthy relationships aren't built on unlimited access. They're built on mutual respect. That's the standard. Mutual. Not one person giving everything while the other person takes everything. Not one person constantly apologizing while the other never takes responsibility. Not one person always adjusting while the other refuses to change. Healthy relationships require two people who understand that respect goes both ways. So stop asking, how do I make this person respect me? Ask, what will I do if they don't? That's the better question, because you cannot control them. But you can control your access, your time, your attention, your response, your boundaries, your decisions, your environment, your standards. That's where your power is. And once you understand that, you stop feeling helpless. Someone doesn't respect you? Okay, You don't have to convince them. You simply adjust the amount of access they have to you. Someone constantly insults you. You don't need to become insulting. You create distance. Someone keeps crossing your boundaries. You stop making those boundaries negotiable. Someone wants to provoke you. You refuse to perform for them. Someone wants your attention through drama. You don't participate. That's how you protect your peace. And protecting your peace isn't about avoiding every uncomfortable situation. Sometimes protecting your peace means having the uncomfortable conversation. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means leaving. Sometimes it means admitting that you allowed something for too long. Be honest with yourself, because self-respect requires honesty. Maybe you stayed because you were afraid of being alone. Maybe you tolerated disrespect because you wanted to be liked. Maybe you kept forgiving because you didn't want the relationship to end. Maybe you kept explaining because you wanted them to finally understand you. It's okay to admit that, but don't stay there. Learn, grow, change. The goal isn't to become someone who never gets disrespected. That's impossible. The goal is to become someone who knows exactly what to do when disrespect happens. You stay calm. You evaluate, you communicate, you set the boundary, you watch the behavior. And if nothing changes, you move. No drama, no revenge, no begging, no endless explanations. Just a decision. That's strength. And remember something important. You need to become hard to become strong. You can remain kind. You can remain compassionate. You can still help people. You can still forgive. You can still love deeply. Just stop confusing kindness with self-abandonment. You can have a soft heart and strong boundaries. You can be generous without being used. You can be humble without being humiliated. You can be patient without accepting repeated disrespect. You can be peaceful without being passive. That's the balance. And perhaps the greatest lesson is this. The more you respect yourself, the less you'll tolerate behavior that requires you to disrespect yourself. You stop laughing at jokes that humiliate you. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop begging for basic consideration. You stop explaining your worth. You stop fighting for a seat at tables where you're constantly being pushed away. You simply build your own table. You build your own life. You become so focused on your growth that disrespect becomes information instead of devastation. It tells you who someone is. It tells you what relationship you have. It tells you what boundary is needed. And then you act accordingly. That's all. You don't need to turn every disrespectful person into an enemy. Some people can simply become strangers. And sometimes that's the healthiest outcome. So the next time someone disrespects you, pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this a misunderstanding? Is this a pattern? Have I clearly communicated my boundary? Has their behavior changed? Does this person deserve continued access to me? Then make your decision. Not from anger, from self-respect, because you are not responsible for teaching every person how to treat you. You can communicate the standard, you can demonstrate the standard, but eventually people choose how they behave. Believe their choices. And if someone repeatedly chooses disrespect, choose yourself. Walk away if you need to. Create distance if you need to. Protect your peace. Keep your dignity and keep moving. You don't have to become bitter. You don't have to become cold. You don't have to hate people. Just become wiser. Let every experience teach you something. Let every disrespectful person teach you where your boundaries need to be stronger. Let every difficult relationship teach you what healthy relationships should look like. Let every disappointment teach you to value yourself more, and then keep going, because your life is too valuable to spend it trying to convince people to recognize your worth. You know who you are. Build yourself until you believe it. Respect yourself until disrespect becomes something you simply know how to handle. And remember, you don't control how people treat you, but you control who gets access to you. You control how you respond. You control what you tolerate. You control whether you stay. And sometimes that's more than enough.